The I'm Fine podcast is produced by L'Amour Media, LLC, and is run by Project Headspace and Timing. Project Headspace and Timing is a 501c3 that I started in 2017 after a veteran that I was a medic to decided to pull over on the side of the road and end his life. As an organization, Project Headspace and Timing works on veteran advocacy and veteran outreach. What that means is through the advocacy perspective, we try to connect veterans to other resources as early on into the process as possible. What that entails is early contact with veterans, forming a safety net with their family members, friends, and fellow service members, educating them on the resources, and when that veteran is ready to get help, we are there to make sure that they get the help that they need. The outreach aspect is put there to get veterans together to do productive and constructive things, whether it's out in nature, working with other businesses, anything to get them out around other veterans where those good conversations can happen if they want to have them. If you are interested in finding out more information about our organization, please visit projectheadspaceandtiming.org, our Facebook page, Project Headspace and Timing, or our Instagram, which is Project Headspace and Timing. And if you would like to donate to our organization, please visit our website, projectheadspaceandtiming.org, scroll to the bottom, and you will find a link to our Venmo. If you'd like to send us a check, our P.O. Box is P.O. Box 382, Manteno, Illinois, 60950. And if you'd like to sponsor or have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me at Eric P. as in Paul, at projectheadspaceandtiming.org. Thank you. Welcome to today's episode of the I'm Fine podcast, where we are going to talk about social media. Now, the pros, the cons, and how it affects our brains.
Welcome to the I'm Fine podcast with your freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional hosts, Eric Peterson and Brad Stozick.
You said you were excited for this episode.
Kinda, just because I have an outline.
I'm proud of you. Not only do you have an outline, but like you just look professional today. You got your hair back and a bun. You got a little polo, like the whole nine, just for this podcast, right?
Just for this podcast? No, yeah.
Why was this? And this was for teaching, right?
Yeah, observing.
That's very cool, man.
Yeah.
You look very professional.
Oh, well, thank you.
What made you excited? Was there anything else that made you excited about this episode, or you were just excited that you were prepared for this?
Just I was prepared.
Look at you. We're doing great, buddy.
Yeah.
We're still figuring it out. So today's episode, we wanted to talk about social media, but before we talked about social media, it was really important to talk about our lives before social media. So are you a millennial?
What's the cutoff? I don't know.
have no idea.
You are a millennial.
Jake said you're a millennial.
Millennial.
I'm an elder millennial. So you show me some damn respect when you talk to. I am an elder millennial. Like I wear a really old, tattered Good Charlotte shirt, and I sit on a case of craft beer. Like I'm an elder millennial. I remember what the world was like before social media.
Yes.
It seemed like it was more simple, but that was because I was a little kid. So I remember when we got a computer. It was MS-DOS. I remember we couldn't have any games on it, and then we got the OG game, Oregon Trail. And then I remember when I was in I think I was in sixth grade or something, and we got American Online. And a kid in my class, his name was Andrew Deno, he came over to my house to show my parents and I how to make the internet work. And I feel like that is going to be my uphill in the snow 5-mile walk to school story is when I tell my grandkids, when I was your age, the internet came on a disc and you had to plug your phone into the computer, and they're going to be like, Pop is off his meds.
They're going to be like, what's a disc?
What are you talking about? What is a disc? But then when I first got the internet, we had AOL Instant Messenger, AIM, which was a cool way to like message your friends, and that was a whole new thing. You could set away messages, which was so stupid. It's like, yeah, who gives a shit? Like, you're not by your computer. Like, I need to let people know why I'm not by my computer right now. You know what I mean? But like, what was your life like before social media?
Oh man, Game Boy and Pokemon cards, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting together with your friends and like playing those types of games was really fun too.
But it was before the Game Boys had lights built into them, you know?
So like, are you talking about the OG,
like Game
the gray
Boy
one?
Color? No, like Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
So I just remember being on like long car rides on the highway and just like sitting at the edge of by the window, and every time a street light would go by, that's when you would quickly play.
Oh yeah.
That was
You could buy all that stuff for your Game Boy, the attachments, I remember. And there was like the magnifier, and it had the flashlight so you could see what the hell you were doing. Like, yeah, that was pretty badass too. But like, so then when we looked into the history of social media, I found a couple of things. I know you and I have talked about this a little bit. We'll get into it a little bit more. But as far as like when social media started, I was super surprised. I looked up a couple different things. The one that I'm looking at a map right now. It's on broadbandsearch.net, the complete history of social media. And one thing that was super interesting, the first one that was listed, 1978, bulletin boards. And I was like, holy shit, yeah, I didn't think about that, right? Like a bulletin board was the original kind of social media, right?
Yep.
I mean, and we still use bulletin boards. Like we live in Mantino. If you go to Burcott's on your way out, there's a bulletin board full of shit.
Yep.
Like people looking for babysitters or whatever.
Would newspaper technically be the first social media?
I don't know, because the newspaper, you have like one company that's putting the information out there, whereas a bulletin board, you have anybody can come here and put something up there for anybody else to take away.
Gotcha.
It doesn't require any sort of subscription or like anything like that. But what was the first actual social media website? What did you find?
The first one I found was in 1997 called 6 Degrees.
I've never heard of that.
Me either. So I kind of researched it, looked it up. They said it was pretty much a site where you can just like email your friends.
Okay.
And that was pretty much
stuff.
That was about it.
Okay.
And
And then so I found 6 Degrees. I know you said that one. I'd never heard of it before we looked it up for this episode.
Nope.
And it made it to 2001. I found then it shut down. And then we had Friendster in 2002, which I do remember.
Yep.
LinkedIn, 2002. MySpace.
Tom.
We did not deserve Tom.
No.
Tom was the best. He just wanted us to show the world who our 8 top friends were. And like, that was it. He wanted to be our friend. Zanga, I didn't find Zanga on this list, but I remember Zanga. I don't remember why it wasn't on here. Do you remember why it wasn't on here? You told me why it wasn't on there. Like, it was originally not necessarily used for social media.
I don't think so.
It's for like books or something.
Book
Reviews.
Like book reviews. Yep, and like movie reviews. Yeah.
Zanga was awesome. Twitter launched in 2006. 2007, MySpace became the most visited site in the world. Then in 2008, Facebook moved past MySpace as the most visited site in the world. I don't think I said Facebook was founded in 2004, made public, I think, in 2006. Instagram hit the market 2010, Snapchat 2011, Friendster went out of business 2015, TikTok launched in full 2017. And then, remember Google Plus? Remember Google Plus?
No.
They were like the Sega Dreamcast of like social media websites. Like they were there. They were doing their best. Okay. Like they did what they did. They shut down in 2019. 2022 reported that there were 4.7 billion worldwide social media users.
So 2005 was the downfall of society then.
Why? Was that when?
Facebook? MySpace?
Facebook was founded in 2004.
Oh, so 2004 then.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Zuckerberg, like who doesn't like Tom? Who doesn't love Tom? You know what I mean? Like MySpace had something going for him, I think. So yeah, I don't know what all social media sites are you on?
Currently?
Yes.
Facebook.
That's it?
That's it.
Yeah, I get it. Like I am on Facebook. I had a Twitter. I got rid of it.
Yep.
It didn't seem super productive to me. You know what I mean? Like I get it. I get its appeal. Nothing against it. It didn't seem like it was going to be any good for me. I don't have an Instagram. Well, I don't know. I think I had one, but I stopped using like years ago. Because again, it seemed like something that was just going to take more time away from me. Like I was just going to zone into it. I have a Snapchat, Facebook, Snapchat. I really think that's like it. I don't use anything else. Like I have a TikTok, but I don't post on it. It's just my kids and we get on and watch TikToks about stuff. So I mean, that was kind of cool.
Have you ever seen the movie? I think it's called The Intern, or like The Internship with Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn.
I like that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great movie. The part where they're talking about like take a picture instantly and put it on the line.
Yes.
That's what I feel like in today's society when I'm at school, like talking to these kids and they're like online and I'm like on the line and they're already, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I feel so disconnected.
You feel old?
Oh yeah. Oh, very old.
Yeah, that could be a problem, especially from the kids side of things, because that's all they're doing is they're just sitting there on social media throughout the class, right? Like, how does it? Okay, so you're teaching now. You're doing the observing.
Yep.
Our kids have to put their phones away, right? Like,
dude, today he had to stop like 3 or 4 times. Put your phones away. Put your phones away. Before class, everybody on their phone.
Just little robots.
Yeah.
So social media has a pretty significant impact on your brain. Now, when we talk about how it impacts your brain, there's 2 chemicals that 2 hormones that I'm specifically going to talk about. One's oxytocin, and the other is dopamine. Now, oxytocin is a hormone known as the love drug due to its main function of facilitating childbirth and lactation. One thing that I read, I think I've talked about this book before. There's a book out there called Behave by Dr. Robert Sapolsky. Dr. Sapolsky is a neuroendocrinologist, professor of biology, neurology, and neurosurgery at Stanford University. Obviously a pretty smart dude. He talks about how oxytocin forms a very central role in forming attachments, pair bonds. There was a study that said that showed that if you inhale aerosolized oxytocin, you would actually trust people more, and it would make people more cooperative in certain games. And it gave rise to a field called neuromarketing. This is just terrifying. In neuromarketing, they showed, and this is all again from Dr. Sapolsky, what he found. Neuromarketing showed that if you sprayed some oxytocin like up your nose while before watching a commercial, when that commercial came on, you would buy into that commercial even more. So that's fucking terrifying. It affects the nursing in women. Mother-infant bonding is moderated by oxytocin. A really cool thing that I found: when you and your dog stare into each other's eyes, you secrete oxytocin. It's an ancient hormone, over 20,000 years old, and even though it came from like mother-infant and like female pair bonding, like the only other creature or species that humans can get any sort of oxytocin like release from is like with a dog, and it's by doing stuff like that. That dog gets an oxytocin release, and the person gets an oxytocin release.
That explains so much.
Yeah, dude.
Why your dog loves me, why Jake's dog loves me.
Indy loves you. There's a lot of oxytocin. All over. All over the place. Yeah. What did you find anything else about oxytocin?
I did, dude. So I did. I found according to, what's this website? Stanford Social Innovation Reviews, Paul Zak wrote an article suggesting that social media increases oxytocin levels by 13.2%. That is the same amount as a groom seeing their bride for the very first time on his wedding day.
So by spending a little bit of time on social media.
I'm sorry, it was 10 minutes of reading tweets.
So spending 10 minutes of time on social media, levels could rise up to how much percent?
13.2%.
And that is equivalent to
a groom
people on their wedding day.
Yeah.
That's a statistic that requires like some pondering. Like that's 10 minutes.
10 minutes. That's it. That's 10 minutes compared to however long you're engaged to somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's like you love this person.
Yeah, maybe. That's scary. That's really scary.
Yeah.
Now, dopamine is another hormone and a neurotransmitter that plays an important role in your body's reward system. It's called a feel-good hormone. Chemical is essentially like a chemical messenger between the neurons, hence neurotransmitter. Sleeping, exercising, meditating, spending time in the sun, all boost dopamine levels. Again, back to Dr. Sapolsky. He talked about this really cool study where there were these monkeys that would push a lever like a certain amount of times and a treat would come out. And then they started looking at like how the dopamine release would, like they looked at the dopamine release in the monkeys. And so they thought that the dopamine would be released when the monkey got the reward. Like the monkey would press the lever and a treat would come out. But what they found out was they got the dopamine when they pushed the lever, knowing that they would get the treat, not when they got the treat. So dopamine is not about the actual pleasure, but about the anticipation of the pleasure, the pursuit of happiness rather than happiness itself. So back to the study, initially, the monkey got the treat 100% of the time it pushed the lever, right? 100% of the time. So then they changed it so the monkey only got the treat 50% of the time when it would push the lever. So what do you think happened to the dopamine? Okay, so the monkeys went from pushing the lever 100% of the time getting a treat to pushing the lever and 50% of the time getting the treat. Do you think the dopamine went up, went down, stayed the same?
I think it would decrease just based off what you just said. I think it would go down.
The dopamine went through the roof when they changed to 50% of the time.
Really?
Huge increase. The uncertainty of the reward drives the dopamine release up even higher. So then, and this is the really interesting part to me, they took the lever and they looked at they took this whole study and they looked at what happened if the reward came out 25% of the time or 75% of the time. So, opposite states, better and worse. 25% of the time, 75% of the time getting the treat. And the dopamine release was halfway between 50 and 100%. Either way, it didn't matter if they were getting the treat 25% of the time or 75% of the time. The dopamine release was still higher than when they got it 100% of the time. So when I thought about that, I don't know what you think about, but casinos, dude, gambling.
Dude.
Like, think about sitting there on the machine.
Yes.
Like, that's what the fuck that is, right?
That's exactly what that is.
Because have you ever gambled? You ever gone to casinos and stuff like that?
Very minimalistically.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. You're sitting there and you're pulling the lever, you're hitting the button, and when you hit that button, you're getting a dopamine release. It's not getting the reward; it's the anticipation of getting the reward. And when that reward is like less and less of a percentage, for some fucking reason, the dopamine's like higher, which was just super interesting study to me when talking about dopamine. And so scientists used to think that dopamine was a pleasure chemical in the brain, but now we know that it actually creates want. Dopamine causes us to seek, desire, and search. It's stimulated by unpredictability, by small bits of information, by reward cues, pretty much the exact condition of social media. The pull of dopamine is so strong that there were some studies that found tweeting is harder for people to resist than cigarettes and alcohol. Then tweeting, like you have a harder time posting something up than stopping or than wanting to use cigarettes or alcohol. Like it's an addiction. It's very much an addiction.
Oh, absolutely.
So I wanted to look into kind of why. So according to this article that I found on buffer.com, humans devote about 30 to 40% of all speech to talking about themselves, typically face to face. I feel like I know a lot of people where that number is super low. But online, that number jumps up to 80% of all social media posts is people talking about themselves. Why? Because talking face-to-face is messy, emotionally involved. We don't have time to think about what to say. We have to read facial cues, body language. And online, we have time to construct and to refine. And this is what psychologists call self-presentation, which is positioning yourself the way that you want to be seen. So the feeling we get from self-presentation is so strong that viewing your own Facebook profile has been shown to increase your self-esteem just by looking at your own Facebook profile. So why do people share on social media. So first, and this is all still to that buffer.com article. First, it comes back to your own self-image. 68% of people say they share to give others a better sense of who they are and what they care about. But the biggest reason we share is actually about other people. 78% of people say that they share because it helps them stay connected to others. And when we share the right type of content, we gain social currency. So your stock goes up. 62% of people, according to the same study, say that they feel better about themselves when people react positively to what they post on social media. I'm surprised that's only 62%. Like, yeah, dude, if somebody reacts positively to something that you're putting out there on social media, you're going to feel better about yourself, whether it's an opinion about yourself, something you're doing. Like, that totally made sense. And then the other thing that I looked into was, why do we like things like on social media? You can click the like button, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what I found, same article, we do this because we want to maintain relationships. When we favorite and like each other's posts, we add value to the relationship and reinforce that closeness. We also create a reciprocity effect. We feel obligated to give back to the people who have given to us, even in a small way. We want to even up those scales. And a sociologist kind of proved this. He did a study where he sent Christmas cards to 600 random strangers and received 200 in return. That's the power of reciprocity. So that's a little bit of why we interact the way that we interact on social media. Now, positives.
Yeah.
There's plenty of positives. There are legitimately positive things about social media, right?
Yes, there are.
What'd you find?
I found staying connected.
Yep.
So for me, that's the best way I stay connected with my military buddies. We all live across the country. I don't see them very much. Best way is keep in touch. Facebook. Send them a message, whatever.
You want to know what they're doing. You want to make sure, their families. See, it's cool to see how everybody's doing. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and then there's the educational purposes.
Yep.
I mean, you can find anything educational on Facebook.
Yeah.
And there's also raising awareness for different, Ice Bucket Challenge,
bro,
and other things to raise awareness.
Do you know how much the Ice Bucket Challenge is a great example of a positive thing about social media?
Yeah. One
thing that I found, the Ice Bucket Challenge, you know how much they raised in 2014 for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge?
I don't.
$115 million. $115 million from that Ice Bucket Challenge in 2014. That's pretty fucking incredible. Yeah, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What else? What else you got? Any other positives?
No, that was nope. That's all I got.
I looked into some stuff too, and yeah, like a lot of it revolved around social connections. Like if you live in a remote area, you have limited independence, social anxiety, or anything like that. Like it's nice to have social media so you can kind of reach out, connect. It's a great way to find an outlet for your creativity, for self-expression. I have friends that are artists that are always sharing their stuff online, and I love that because it's like, how else am I supposed to, like, they don't have a storefront. Yep. If they're a singer, if they are a painter, a sculptor, whatever, it's really cool to see that the things that they're working on. And then you can find new friends and communities. You can network with other people who share similar interests. Like all of that is what social media, I think, was like designed for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the whole point of social media.
Yep.
And then as far as the education is concerned, like and from the perspective of having kids, like what's cool is, so like we stopped doing this for my wife, and I'm glad she made the suggestion because it was a good idea. Like one of the things my oldest daughter and I would do before going to bed sometimes is like we would get on TikTok and we would, whatever my daughter was interested in, like if like there was a while where she was interested in sharks. And so I would type in a hashtag shark on TikTok. And then we would just sit here and look at all these cool videos and TikToks about sharks. And then my wife was just like, it's probably not a good idea that we're watching social media with our kid right before they go to bed. And I'm like, you are right. And so we stopped doing that. But it's cool that you can get that creative expansion. Because like my oldest daughter too, dude, like she loves painting.
Yeah.
My youngest does too. My oldest is really getting into it. And so like, dude, sometimes when we watch TikToks and stuff, we'll just look up all these crazy artists and the different ways that they're painting. And like, it's so amazing to watch my daughter get that kind of understanding and education through social media. So again, huge positive, I think. Sure. Definitely some negatives.
Yeah, there's a couple.
There's a few. What did you find or negatives?
Man. So the biggest one is anger.
Yep.
Right. So according to sciencefocus.com, anger on social media is caused due to the ease of being able to respond to a post or something that you don't see. So it's so easy just to see something, hate it.
Yep.
You know, like I know there's the thumbs up. Is there like a thumbs down feature? Like you can like add the angry emoji.
Yep.
And then immediately, whatever you're feeling, that emotion, you don't have time to think about it. You just react and you just.
Not at all. Yeah, you're just scrolling.
Yep.
You're just like, I feel this way, I feel this
Yep.
way, and you're moving on to the next thing. You're
Yep.
not even letting your body process what the hell's even happening.
Yep.
I found that a lot of the negatives when it comes to social media involve what's called FOMO, or fear of missing out. So according to verywellmind.com, found that participants that spend 30 minutes daily on social media experienced less depression, but researchers suggested that those young people were spared from looking at content such as a friend's beach vacation, grad school acceptance letter, happy families, stuff that might make them feel bad about themselves, which is why they think that they experienced less depression. But taking in the photos or posts of people with seemingly perfect lives can make social media users feel like they just don't measure up.
Yeah.
2015 University of Missouri study found that regular Facebook users were more likely to develop depression if they felt feelings of envy on the networking site. So it's just an inadequacy about your life or appearance. So yeah, dude, it's going to affect your self-esteem and confidence.
That blows my mind though, because a lot of the stuff that people post is only stuff that they want you to see about their life. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to post like the truth. It's going to look like the happy. You know what I'm saying?
It's not. I don't think it's that people aren't posting the truth. It's that people aren't posting the full 360-degree view of their life.
Right.
They're just posting this awesome part of their life.
Yeah.
And then if you are not feeling great at that time and you're scrolling social media and it's like, oh, these friends are vacationing in Europe and this friend just got married and this friend's doing this and I just used a bunch of Oreos as spoons to eat Nutella. So I don't feel super great about myself right now. You know what I mean? So yeah, I understand like there in and of itself lies the big issue, I think. And obviously you're not going to post some people do post some negative personal things, but for the most part, people aren't going to want to share those things. Yeah. And that's why it's like initially I was kind of like, oh, people are being fake online. And then I was like, that's not fair. It's not always the case. It's not that people are just being fake online. People are excited because they accomplished something.
Sure.
You accomplish something, you want to share it with people, right?
Yep.
And we all like that validation. We all enjoy when people like when you graduate school, man.
Yeah.
And you put it out there, you're like, I fucking graduated. Like it was long, it was difficult, but I did it. And then people are going to rally around you online and be like, hey man, good for you. That's awesome. It's nice to get that type of validation.
Oh, absolutely.
But then it also, the other side of that is just how it can affect other people because they don't feel like they measure up to your accomplishments. You talked about anger. Yeah, dude. So how long I got online when we were talking about doing this, and I was like, I wonder how long it'll take me to find anger on social media. Here's what I did. I went to our local newspaper's Facebook page, the Daily Journal.
Yep.
And I scrolled until I found an argument. Okay. And I scrolled back exactly one day. One day, and I found immediately an argument. And it's just like, how many times have you seen an argument on Facebook and then it ended with the people saying, that's a very good point. Yep. Well, agree to disagree. I really appreciate your point. I'm going to take that and apply it to my life. Like, I've seen it happen a couple of times.
I'm still looking.
Dude, I have seen that happen a couple of times where I wish, like, those moments make me proud of humanity, where I'm like, oh, hey, cool. These two strangers were arguing, but they realized that they might not be perfect and they got a better understanding of the world that they share. That's wonderful. Most of the time, it's just bleh. Like, it's just the worst. People just get so angry with each other about a specific topic. There's no context there. What you said earlier about anger and everything. Yeah, dude, you think that you're just commenting into the void. You don't feel like you're commenting face to face with somebody else. Yep. That's why so many people when they get mad, they're like, "Oh, I wish I could see you in person," or blah blah blah. It's like,
Like, what
calm
would you
the
do?
fuck down.
Yeah, right. What are you
calm
gonna
down.
do?
Okay, like, yeah, if we were in person, the argument probably would have never even got to this point because we have consideration and tact and all these other things that we use when we're actually having face to face, dealings with
And
other people.
that's what blows my mind. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand how it gets to that point. I mean, I guess I do a little bit, but how do you get so heated that you're like death threats and like threatening to beat someone's ass that you've never met or don't know anything about this person? Complete stranger.
We have a lot. We looked up all these like statistics and things, but just kind of throwing shit out there. I mean, from an unprofessional opinion, I think that people are projecting their own internal bullshit out there. Like, you're frustrated, you're mad, you had the worst day of your life, you get online and you feel this certain way about a certain politician, and you see somebody make a comment and you're like, nope. And you take that as an opportunity, maybe subconsciously thinking that you are going to alleviate some of this anger, this stress, this whatever that you're bringing into it. But what you don't realize is you're just plummeting yourself further into the abyss.
Yeah.
And like, I noticed myself doing that when it came to social media, in that I was just spending a little too much time on it, and that's when I deleted a few of the different social media sites and I stopped using them, and I just realized that it wasn't super beneficial for me.
Yeah.
And like I said, like with Twitter, it just, because to shorten your thoughts, to shorten an idea to 130 or 100, however many characters it is, like, that's so disingenuous, because you have to get all of the context of a situation before I can even come up with my own opinion about what it is you feel. Like, you just say on there, "I hate blank." I have no idea where that thought came from. You know what I mean? But I don't agree with you, so I'm going to just get all over it. And it doesn't matter at that point, the facts and figures that you try to, like, whenever I see an argument on social media and people try to add context after the fact, it gets nowhere, because emotionally you're already like, nope, I'm strapped for war. Like, I don't give a shit what you have to say or what numbers you have to prove. Like,
Pandas are the cutest bear.
it doesn't matter. Like, you have these people that are arguing, and it's just it's a scary place. And so, yeah, the issues that you have, I think definitely interfere with and can get pulled into that when it comes to social media. So, yeah, there's plenty of information out there about how social media can negatively impact anger, depression, anxiety, jealousy, envy, make you feel isolated, bullying. Like, what else did you find?
I found false narratives.
Okay, like, what do you mean?
So people, basically what we talked about, kind of like what reality looks like. People are posting like fake realities.
Yeah.
And they're coming up with basically online personas of someone that they're not, and you're portraying.
But the scary thing about that too is, like, I don't think everybody understands that they're doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you're putting it out there because it's a positive thing and you're looking for positive affirmations, validation, whatever. But then in the process, you're also creating this unattainable version of yourself. And that's why, like I'll get into in a second, like social media filters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that, it's exactly what that is. You're creating this false version of yourself, and now you're measuring up to this unattainable level of, quote, reality. Like, it's not reality. And you're looking at somebody else's life now on social media, and you're like, oh, they're traveling, they're doing this, they're accomplishing everything. I'll never be that. I will never, ever be able to be as successful as that person. And boom, like, who isn't going to feel that way?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've caught myself with jealousy, and like, I try to be self-aware, and like, I'll see something online and I'll see someone succeed at something, and this definitely doesn't happen a lot, but it has happened where I feel this little shred of jealousy.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, why the fuck am I jealous?
Yeah.
Why do I feel this way? Because somebody else is succeeding. That's beautiful. Like, if they deserved it, they worked for it, whatever, like, great, good for them. It doesn't affect me, like, at all.
Yep.
But the fact that it made me feel a little jealous scared me a little bit.
Yeah.
And it gives you a little bit of insight into your own mental health and where you're at that time, right? But yeah, what else did you find?
As far as negatives go?
Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much covering them all.
Yeah. So then I'll kind of get into social media filters.
Yeah.
So one thing, and I have quite a bit, but before I like even start reading any of it, social media filters never seemed like a real great idea. Like it started out as like really cute. Like Snapchat had the filters, I think, first. And it was like, okay, you can be a puppy dog, you can be like a bunny rabbit or something like that. But where it got into the weird territory was the beauty filters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then I'm like, whoa, what are we saying here? Because it just, now you can make yourself look more attractive, but that's not really how you look. How is that going to make you feel better about yourself? In what way does showing yourself an altered version of what you could look like if you lost X amount of pounds, if your nose was big or small or whatever, like there is no world where like you're going to feel better after you see, oh, that's how attractive I could look. Well, that's neat. I still feel great about myself. Like
there is a world though, because they post that picture and then they get the comments validating that they're pretty.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Thus perpetuating that cycle. Oh, God, yeah. And so what I found, what I'm going to read into is something I found on InStyle.com, popular magazine. This is, and they deal with a lot of beauty stuff and things like that. So it was interesting to get their opinion and what they looked into when it comes to social media filters. So what they found is that, and this was found in an internal document at Facebook. Facebook knows. They're well aware of the harmful effects that these filters and things have on women. This document, the internal document from Facebook, reported that 32% of teen girls said that when they felt bad about their bodies, Instagram made them feel even worse. And among teens who reported suicidal thoughts, 13% of British users and 6% of American users trace the issue to Instagram. However, and I feel like those numbers are bigger, and I know that correlation doesn't imply causation, but still. And then said, however, this issue extends beyond teenagers. They said children and adults of all ages have confided in me and shared that they are ashamed of posting photographs of themselves without the use of filters, says Dr. Leela McGavie, who is a Hopkins-trained psychiatrist and regional medical director for community psychiatry and Mind Path Care Centers. She said, I have assessed some teenagers, men and women, who have discussed the idea of getting plastic surgery to look more like the filtered versions of themselves. And I'm torn a little bit because I'll kind of always defer to your individual rights as a person, right?
Sure, yeah.
You want to look like whatever you want to look like. That's on you. Good for you. That's what makes you feel like you are you, then good for you. But if you feel like you have to change it because of the filter, because like you saw yourself and you're like, oh, I could look more attractive. Like that's something else. Like I don't like that at all.
No, that's yeah.
But yeah, so it continued on. The research all agrees with Dr. McGavie. Studies show that social media significantly influences plastic surgery trends. People are bringing in photos of their filtered selves as inspiration pictures. In addition to cosmetic procedures, experts say that there's a direct link between social media filters and lower self-esteem, self-confidence, higher cases of body dysmorphia. Dr. Josie Howard, a board-certified psychiatrist who specializes in psychodermatology and is on the scientific advisory board for Proactive, said, I definitely see a new theme to these body dysmorphic concerns because of all this stuff. She said people begin to expect themselves to look like filtered versions of themselves, become obsessed with achieving that in the real world, which obviously, just like looking at somebody else that's succeeding at whatever, like leaves these people depressed, anxious, lonely, and disappointed. There was a 2019 study published in Canada that showed that time spent on social media could exacerbate or trigger body image concerns. This study contended that as little as 5 minutes spent on Facebook or Instagram could have the capacity to elicit this negative response. Other studies have coined the term Snapchat dysmorphia or selfie dysmorphia as terms to describe this phenomenon. On top of that low self-esteem, these filters can also perpetuate feelings of loneliness and isolation. At the same time that we are seeing people's self-esteem eroded by exposure to social media, we are also seeing an increasing sense of isolation because these filters create a self-reinforcing feedback loop that leads to people spending more time on social media, seeking virtual validation, and less time connecting with others in the real world, explained Dr. Howard. So yeah, like all that shit made sense to me. Like I said this to my wife before. Again, like I love my wife, and I love that when she posts pictures that and we mess around and like take filtered pictures every once in a while, with the goofy shit or whatever, especially with the kids. But I told her once that like how much I appreciated and loved that she was posting those pictures out there of herself without a filter, because it's very important for me as her husband to know that she is comfortable and confident with herself.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And it's not dogging people that are posting filtered pictures of themselves. This is my wife. I want her self-confidence is very important to me. And when you can post pictures up of yourselves without a filter, then to me, that's showing that you have some self-confidence a little bit. You know what I mean? What else do you have?
On as far as filters?
Mm-hmm. No, or just where are you at on your outline that you did?
I'm on relationships. How social media affects relationships. But if you weren't done with filters, then we can.
What do you got? What do you got with relationships?
Actually, it does tie in with filters because online dating.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you take a picture with the filter. You start online dating. You meet this person in real life. Mm-hmm. It's not what they seem.
Do you have friends? Because I've been with my wife for like ever. You've been with your wife for like ever. So like we never had to deal with online dating, thank God. But like, have any of your friends been into online dating? Have you ever talked to your friends about it?
No. I mean, I've the occasional like, oh yeah, I use Bumble or whatever.
Yeah.
But
so I don't know if that's even an issue. Like if people typically post pictures of themselves on a dating website with a filter, I'm sure people do.
Oh no, I have no idea.
But yeah, that would be a serious issue.
I guess I was assuming. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, and then I guess like also with online dating, you got catfishing, which also goes into the using filters and.
Used to be a show.
It did,
wasn't it?
I think it still is.
Is it?
I think so. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what is catfishing?
Catfishing is deceiving someone online and pretending to be something or someone that you're not.
Mm-hmm. And did you find like how many people are actually catfished?
Well, I don't know how many people are catfished, but the amount of people, according to a study, 23% of women admitted to catfishing other people, and 38% of men admitted to catfishing people. And when I think of, I don't remember what website or anything, but I think of this funny video I saw where it's two, I think they were military officers. They come to some person's building to let them know that their loved one had passed. I know it's not funny, and it's a chubby dude with a beard and a robe answers the door, and he starts crying. And he's like, oh my gosh, not Jason. Like, we were so close to each other. And like, he was online dating this military member and joking, like catfishing him. Oh, and then at the end of the video, another person walks up and he's like, oh no, not Marcus. And like, he just was catfishing all these people.
Was this real or is this a joke?
I think it was, I think it was a joke. I want to say it was like one of those like spoof websites or whatever. They just make stupid videos.
But that's why I'm so concerned about like the metaverse, and all that other stuff, because I have to feel like the opportunity for people to catfish people is going to go up exponentially, because that's the whole thing. That's what the metaverse is, right? You're creating a version of yourself, and you're telling the rest of the metaverse, this is who I am. And so you're kind of sort of catfishing people, right? Because that might not necessarily be who you are. You get to change whatever you want to change. I think there was a movie, it was with Bruce Willis, where God, I can't remember the name of it, but essentially it was similar to like Minority Report. Like it was some futuristic type of movie where these people were plugged in, almost like the Matrix, and there was like this online world that was like a metaverse. And the name is going to come to me, but you had these people that were portraying themselves to be this version of themselves, and they were the complete opposite. They just really enjoyed pretending to be this version of themselves, which is more or less that's catfishing,
That
right?
is.
That's what people are doing.
Yeah.
And then you're leading people on, you're making people get emotionally invested. Like that's fucking terrifying to me.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Filters.
You did have stuff on filters.
I did. I said I enjoy, like, I think it's fun because, like, the original, do you remember the original, like, MacBook? Like the first Mac, those were like the first filters. We can take like the 2 pictures, like where you're looking at yourself, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like those were like the original filters.
Yep.
And I'll spend time with my kids, and we'll just look at like we'll take silly pictures of like, oh look, we're in a fish tank or whatever. That's the extent of my filter experience.
I understood the impact of it that it's having, I think, on my oldest daughter, which again is why I've limited a lot of that stuff. Like my oldest daughter, she doesn't have a phone or any of that other stuff.
Yeah.
She's got a little tablet, an Amazon tablet or whatever they call it, like the Fire tablet. But all that's for is like watching YouTube and playing games. She can't like take pictures of herself and use the filters. But like when we would mess around and take some of those filtered pictures, we would scroll over to like the, scrolling through, and then the beauty one comes up, and then she sees herself like that, and she would want to look at that. And then I'm like, oh, wait, okay, this is where I need to stop and talk to her about this to make sure that she understands. Because my oldest is that she wants to grow up so fast. She wants to. Like, she wants the makeup. She wants all that other stuff. And I do think part of that's normal. And I wonder how much of that's influenced by what she's seeing on social media. Because, again, you talk about social media, YouTube, your kids, I think that is probably for a young kid, that's their first introduction into social media, is watching an influencer on YouTube. And what is an influencer on YouTube doing? Like if you watch any of the kids, like they're dancing and doing all this fun stuff. They have this, there's a couple of different influencers that my daughters would watch that have, they would just like play with toys, and they would have a super, super nice outlook as far as like what they were doing, and their house was always super nice. They have all these nice things, and you're starting to create those thoughts, I feel like, in the kid's head where, oh, I need this, I need that. All that stuff kind of scares me a little bit, man. But so for personal social media habits, I found some stuff as far as like some negative personal social media habits. I don't know what all you found. I'll let you go ahead and you start.
Yeah. I found basically social media addiction. It's basically being over concerned about social media, driven by an uncontrollable urge to log on to or use social media, and devoting so much time and effort to social media that inspires other. Oh, I'm sorry. It impairs other important life areas.
Yeah, what I think of when it comes to that kind of stuff that relates to that is like if you're out in public with your friends and family, or any sort of social interaction, and you're checking your social media account. Like I do that. I've done that where, and where does that come from? It's like, okay, I'm standing around a bunch of people and I should be trying to engage with them, but I'm anxious. I feel awkward. I feel self-conscious, whatever. So what can I do? Oh, I just dig into my phone. I just pick up my phone and I'm scrolling on social media, which is incredibly ironic because I'm in a social environment surrounded by people, but I can't talk to anybody.
Dude, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't know if you've noticed, you've gone out to dinner recently or whatever, but the kids on the tablet, the guy's on his phone, the girl on it, and they're like with friends, and everyone's on their phones. Like, what's the point of going in a social gathering if you're just going to sit on your phone the whole time?
A couple of things that I think with that. So, like with kids on tablets, and this is what we do. This is just what I do, and my wife does. Like, we know that our kids have too much time on the tablet when we tell them it's time to get off and they like have a meltdown. Yeah. Then we know, okay, well, it's time to throttle that back because I want it. It's a tool like anything else. Like they're going to need to know how to use it. So we'll, as long as I take it away and they have the same reaction that they would to anything else, they're just, then I don't think it's a huge problem.
Sure.
When we're out in public, especially my youngest dude, My youngest is just she's a little savage. And so like we'll usually kind of move, like we have like an escalation of force to get to the tablets. Like that's the last one. But like first we'll talk, we'll play. If we can color, we'll color, like if we're out at a restaurant or something. And then if they really start getting to the point where they're super anxious, and then we'll use the tablet for a little bit. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I think that, I think that's pretty important. There's something else that you said that I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember it for the life of me. What else were you just mentioning? Something that bothered you?
Just like just being like, if you're out with a group of people and everyone's on their phone, it's like, why even?
So, a buddy of mine, I was working an EP contract on the East Coast, and after our day was done, like a bunch of us would go out and get like something to eat, a couple of beers or whatever. And we had a rule that was put in by one of the other guys, and everybody had to take their phone out and put it on the table, face down. And the first person to touch their phone had to buy the beer for everybody that night. And I liked that, dude.
Absolutely.
Because I'm like, oh, okay. And so we started doing that. And then, we would sit down and just bullshit, have a good conversation, understand that, it's not the end of the world. Like we don't have to just go for our phones. And the fallback for everybody is like, well, what if it's an emergency? And yes, that is a possibility. Of course, that's a possibility.
Yep.
But as often as we can, we have to try to be in the moment. Again, the overarching theme of this entire podcast, be mindful.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I definitely understand that. Yep. I felt like doom scrolling is something that I've fallen victim to.
Guilty.
Yeah, dude, where you're just like laying there mindlessly scrolling through the news feed for too long. And then just like we said earlier, you're having emotional reactions to things, sort of. You're like, oh, that's funny. Laugh, react. Oh, that makes me mad. Angry face. And then you're just scrolling. And then before you know it, it's 3 a.m. and you have to be up in like 2 hours, and you're like, oh my God, I accomplished 0 things. 0 things.
So what's your thing that you like your go-to rabbit hole that you will on social media, right? So for example, mine, dude, I watch a video of this monkey I don't even know. I can watch her all day, and she just like gets mail and like opens packages. Same monkey. Opens.
Is this like a live stream that's going like 24/7?
No, like it's somebody's pet, right? So they like film her and like post different videos of her, and she's like opens mail. Or like the other day I saw her like swimming. Like, have you ever seen a monkey swim? It's adorable.
What the fuck?
It just like throws its arm up and like it was I don't know, dude. It's
when you say that this is your rabbit hole, because I fall into a billion different rabbit holes. I'm just curious, like how often do you fall into this rabbit hole?
I mean,
he's got it on his phone right now. He's watching it. He has this podcast on.
I mean,
what's the monkey's name?
Gatlin.
Gatlin
Ray.
Like Gatlin, like Gatlinburg? Gatlin?
Yeah, like Gatlin.
What kind of monkey?
I don't know, a little one, little cute one. Dude, wears a diaper and it's I don't know.
Adorable.
It is.
I tried to buy a monkey once. I wanted to buy a monkey, but I found out it was illegal to have a monkey. I almost bought a monkey in Afghanistan. Almost traded a pack of smokes and a case of Gatorade and some Rippets, and like I think I talked the dude down to like $80. And then my platoon sergeant was like, "You're an idiot." And I was like, "Oh, yep, I guess you're right." But
dude, that's my
I get into a billion different rabbit holes. It just depends because like the thing again with social media is it'll open up a universe to something that I didn't even realize I was interested in. So depending on my feeling that day, like I go down, the popular ones that I go down usually involve my favorite comedians. Yeah. So like I'll go down rabbit holes all the time to watch old Patrice O'Neill. He was one of my favorites. He died years ago. I'll go down to his rabbit hole like forever. Bill Burr, who's still around, obviously. Like his, I'll just watch videos of them. Yeah. I'll watch Hot Ones, which is where the interviewer, Sean, I can't remember his last name, but he interviews people, famous people, and they go through and eat all these hot wings while asking questions. And he's a phenomenal interviewer. It's just a really fun show to watch because you're watching these celebrities eat insanely hot wings and then like try to answer questions. So like I'll go down rabbit holes and start watching that stuff. But I've gone down, I don't know how many times I've gone down a rabbit hole where it's all, where I realize what I'm watching in the moment. And then I'm just like, how did I get here? Like, why am I here? Why am I watching this right now?
Yep.
But again, it's also opened me up to some really cool stuff. amazing art, things that again open me up to a lot of things. So yeah, man, YouTube is where I go down my rabbit holes. Like everything else, I'm just doom scrolling. I'm just like, I'm not going down a rabbit hole. I'm just like scrolling. But then I'll get into those rabbit holes, and also like horror movies. So I love horror movies. So I'll go down rabbit holes where I'm just learning about different horror movies, like the makeup and effects and all that kind of stuff. And like I get down to those, and those are kind of fun because the thing that before social media, if you had a question, it was, do I have a book I can find the answer in? Do I know somebody who has the answer? Because if not, then I'm just not going to have the answer.
Yep.
But now, if I'm watching a movie, I'm like, that guy looks familiar. What's his name? Look it up, got the actor's name. What other movies was he in? And then I start looking at all the other movies that he was in. And I was like, I forgot he was in this movie. Let's watch a trailer for that movie. And I watch a trailer for it. And I'm like, you know what? Let's watch some other trailer. And then again, you just keep going and going and going.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I definitely get into those types of rabbit holes. But never watched a monkey.
Dude,
that much of a monkey. Like I've ended at a monkey before. We've all ended at a monkey before. You know what I mean? But I just don't watch. I don't know if I watch like routinely.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's like routine. Like
every morning I wake up, I kiss my kids. I'm like, hey guys, wake up, good morning, I make them breakfast. I watch the monkey for like 4.5, 5 hours, and then I go on and start my day.
Yeah, you know, it I don't know. At least it could be worse, right?
It could always be worse. It could always be worse.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so some of the other personal social media habits that could be a little negative, according to WaldenUniversity.com, checking social media. I'm going to read these, and I'm going to tell you which ones I do. So checking social media as soon as you wake up and before you get out of bed, doom scrolling, posting too many photos, excessive use of hashtags, anxiously checking and rechecking for likes and comments, not knowing when and what to share, not to share, hopping on social media too often while out with friends and family, deleting posts that don't get enough likes and comments, checking notifications every time your phone dings, comparing yourself excessively to other people based on what they share on social media. I do like half of those for sure. Like waking up, checking social media, it's so easy.
Yep.
Because the phone's right there. I read, I can't remember his name, but he has a podcast, The Daily Stoic, Ryan Holiday. And Holiday says like one thing that he does is he takes his phone, he puts it in the other room. Yep. And it sounds so easy, but I can't do it. Not yet.
No.
It's hard for me to do that. You know what I mean? And the easy reasoning, I'm like, well, I need an alarm clock. And again, I've read some of Holiday's stuff, watched some of his videos. They're great, Daily Stoic. And he's just like, you can buy an alarm clock. It's like, they're like $5.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, yeah, I guess you're right. You know?
So Amanda and I tried that for like a week.
Yeah?
Yeah. And it was good.
It makes sense why it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's just laziness on my part. That's really what it comes down to, is just laziness. I'll wake up and the first thing I'll do is I'll open up my phone and then I'll like check social media for a bit and then I'm like, okay, and then I'll get up. But yeah, that's a terrible way to start my day. Yeah, I'm realizing it now. Like I should work. I think I could work harder on not doing that. Now, I don't think I post too much stuff daily, but like I'm not anxiously checking and rechecking. I've found myself doing that. I have. And I'm just like, ugh, why am I doing this? You know, because I think it's like you're looking for that validation. You're like, I shared a thought. I shared an opinion. Like, I wonder how other people feel about it. And so I've definitely done that.
I'm guilty when it comes to like posting for the podcast. When it like, I'll check to see, like I check YouTube a lot to see if we got new views, but that's about it. I don't really, I don't post anything on.
Yeah. Which is a good way to go about it.
Yeah.
So like I also read in there, and we kind of talked about this, but having a social media security blanket in public. So like that's something that I do that I really need to get better at, where it's like when I'm out in public, kind of defaulting to checking my phone and looking at social media about stuff. So, now, did you have anything else before we talk about some best practices?
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
So, best practices that I found for using social media is limit its use. Like, don't, like, everything that I read, like, and I found so many miscellaneous articles about social media, and every single one of them was like, limit its use. Don't be on it all the time. Like, nobody should be on it all the time. It is not good for you. Another couple of things, use algorithms to your advantage. Avoid the negative on social media. And I found this because on social media, for me, like on my Facebook, we all know the algorithms, which are terrifying. But when it comes to like algorithms, I honestly like a lot of positive shit.
Yeah.
Like I see something, it's just a feel good story or like whatever. And like, I like all that stuff, like inspirational quotes, like some of them, depending on the context and stuff, I can't always get behind them, but like I'll see stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. I love that. And I'll click it. And then I get to see more of it. So I feel like I'm using the algorithms to my advantage a little bit.
So that explains the monkey videos on my Facebook then.
Like I want to get on your Facebook and it's just like every ad is like diapers that fit a monkey. Like, here you go. It's like everything's monkey related. Like, oh my God. Yeah. But you have to use that stuff to your advantage. You have to stay away from negative shit because the more you buy into it, the more you feed into it, it's just going to keep showing you all that stuff. And I also saw that you have to focus on genuine connections.
Yeah.
So it's great to share the positive things, but and it's hard, I think, to focus on genuine connections on social media. But the way that I've tried to do it is like, if I see somebody sharing something, posting something I can really get behind, something that inspires some thoughts on my end, like I'll try to reach out personally about it. And I'll be like, hey, you said something about this. I thought this was kind of cool. I just want to let you know I really appreciated your opinion on that. Like I've done stuff like that because I feel like it helps me focus on the actual connection piece of social media, right? And so I think that's super. I think that's really important.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else you got?
That was. I mean, I was just kind of. I think social media gives people, my notes here say, gives people balls behind a screen.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right. So, you talk to the girl or the boy that you wouldn't talk to in person. You talk shit to people that you wouldn't. So, in my mind, social media is like cyber liquid courage.
Yeah, well, again, because of that thought that you are anonymous, that you can just say whatever you want and do whatever you want. Like, I really think as a society, we should have all received some sort of class or something like when social media came out. Like, listen, this is going to affect everybody. Yep. We just need to know what we're getting into because you're going to see some fucked up stuff. When you get on social media and read through comment boards and see like, the beautiful thing about social media is everybody has their own soapbox. Yep. And the worst thing about social media is that everybody has their own soapbox. Yep. You know what I mean? And it's just, I wish that, I would have learned a little bit more as a kid getting into social media, but it was new. So who's going to teach me? Like, it was new for everybody. But now I feel like it's our responsibility for our kids to make sure that they truly understand that you're not anonymous, and so many people say this that are in our generation. Thank God they didn't have social media when I was a kid. Because what kind of dumb shit would I have said being a kid, figuring out the world? You know what I mean? I would have posted something up stupid or some meme or whatever. Like I would have done something dumb. And now we're seeing that come back to haunt people. Like because people get fired for jobs. People get and I don't even know where I stand on that. I think it's a situation. It's a case-by-case basis as far as if somebody should be held accountable for something they posted on social media.
I was informed because of on social media. So I was... I was going to be a teacher and going to school, and they had this thing where you get connected with somebody in your field. Well, we had a phone conversation. He's like, well, I was looking at your Facebook, found out 2 things about you. You're not a traditional student, and you're visually impaired. And through that, I found out that I potentially wouldn't even get an interview because, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, it was kind of like a blessing and a curse in a way.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like, dang, dude, you're going to, shots fired, you know what I'm saying?
Well, now when people are hiring people, they look at their social media.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you? If you were, from a business perspective, if you were going to hire somebody, why wouldn't you just look at their social media? Because again, they may present a certain way when they come to your office looking for a job, but, excuse me, it's a whole different story when then you get on their social media and you're like, oh my God, this is what this person is like all the time, you know? So it's hard. It's really scary. Like, do I think somebody should be punished for something they said 10, 15 years ago? Again, I think it really comes down to the context.
Yeah.
It comes to the context, what was said, why they're going to be punished, and all that other kind of stuff. Because we got into a weird place where I feel like for a little while, everybody took a turn at being canceled for something online. Like everybody was just getting canceled. And then you kind of threw out the baby with the bathwater because some of those people probably should have deserved it. Some of those people probably should not have deserved it. But as a whole, I also think then the mob mentality comes into play, which we'll get to talk about a little bit more in our next episode about bullying. But it's like that mob mentality comes into play where everybody just wants to jump on the bandwagon and they want to vilify somebody else because it takes the pressure off them for a little bit and they feel like they're not the one just getting stomped on by life all the time. So they get to just hop on this cancel bandwagon when the context isn't there and it's not even appropriate at that time. And it creates those weird, terrifying situations like that you see in movies like The Mist, the Stephen King, The Mist, where like the whole group in the grocery store tries to, they get rid of some of the people that don't believe the same things they believe in because they all just slowly become brainwashed by the circumstances, right? And you see that happen on social media all the time, which is terrifying.
And the worst part is I think these social media giants know what's happening.
Oh, hell yeah.
They know it's happening.
They have millions, if not billions of dollars.
Yeah, and they don't care.
Like, look into this stuff, and they don't give a shit. They probably don't give a shit. What was your first email?
My first... Really? You're going to make me say that?
Yep.
My first email?
Yeah.
Like my AOL name?
What was your first email, Brad?
You're a bastard.
I just want to know what it was.
You know what it was. It was Shrekbutt95.
Shrekbutt95. If I was a supervillain, what my power would be is I would make everybody's first email that they ever created would be the only email that they could ever use. Like you're some CEO from some like Fortune 500 company. You're like, yeah, man, you can shoot that over to my email. It's Shrekbutt97 or whatever. You know what I mean?
Hey, Shrek was really popular at the time, all right?
Mine was Mr. Rogers 92, which I would still use to this day because Mr. Rogers was the GOAT. Like I love Mr. Rogers, and I mean that sincerely. I love everything that dude was about. Yeah. And I made him. That was my first email, so like I'm fine with that.
I mean, at least he was like a good dude. Mine was a green monster.
But Shrek was a classic.
His butt of all things.
But so many people had like ridiculous emails because you were just like, you wanted to make it like funny or something.
Yep.
But again, that's why it's like, it would be hilarious to me if you just had to keep that email like forever. But so the best summary that I found of the relationship between social media and mental health is from a Psychology Today article. The take-home message was, social media affects people's mental health in complex ways. Understanding the content and quality of online interactions can help to identify people with anxiety and depression, and using social media in a positive way can help alleviate mental health symptoms, while using it in a negative way is associated with more mental health systems. So yeah, like you just have to be more mindful. You have to be more mindful when you're online. You have to be more mindful of what you are engaging in online and controlling what you can control, you know?
And I think people need to remember that if you don't agree with the post, there's still another human being behind that post. You
Unless
know what
it's
I'm
a
saying?
Twitter bot.
Well,
but yeah, for sure. Yeah, you need to understand that you are talking to another person.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah. So before we wrap up, I did want to wrap it up with another Motivational Monday quote that I kind of thought related to this. And this is from one of my heroes, Marcus Aurelius, philosopher king, Stoic. And he said, the things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. And with that, another similar one from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, people do not seem to realize that their opinion of the world is also a confession of their character. So what I found is like the way that I felt like that was related to this episode was because if you get yourself into these negative feelings, then it's just going to perpetuate that negative shit all the time. Yeah. The algorithms, all that stuff. Like he's talking about algorithms. That's what Marcus Aurelius is talking about. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. To me, that's algorithms. You're subscribing to this stuff and it just keep cycling it back. And when you're on social media, that's what you're doing. Whatever you are getting involved in is getting cycled right back to you. And if you're putting that negative energy out there, I think that's what you're going to get back.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But other than that, man, what else do you have? What else do you have about social media?
Nah, the whole, just check out the monkey videos.
Check out, what was her name?
Gatlin Ray.
Gatlin Ray. Check out the Gatlin Ray monkey videos. Next episode might be in my basement. So we finished the floors. We finished the floors and we finished the trim. So the doors aren't on yet, but the rest of the stuff is done. We might be in there next time.
I'm actually starting to believe you now.
I appreciate it.
I saw the picture and I was like, oh, you do have a basement.
Yep. I sent the picture to you and Jake. I was like, I told you guys I have a fucking basement. It's almost done. And I appreciate that. But yeah, man, that's all I got. We thank you guys so much for listening, for tuning in, for reaching out to us to tell us how you feel about these episodes. It means a lot to us, and it lets us know that we're on the right track. So we hope you enjoy the next episode. We're going to dive into bullying and cyberbullying and just regular good old-fashioned bullying. And I'm really excited to get into that one too. So until next time, thanks for tuning in, and we will get back to you soon.